This meeting today is, as you know, or may know, 2 years ago, let's go back 3 years ago. The AGM held in October each year normally has a component of information provided by Tanya and or Tony. 3 years ago, that was fine. 2 years ago, it didn't take place for a number of reasons. So we said, well, we can't go 2 years without having heard from the powers that be. So we said, let's have a semi-annual, like midterm, like the midterm elections in the US. Don't get me started on that. But so midterm in 2024, we had an informational meeting, which just like today, it was very well attended. And just a reminder that the meeting today is to discuss or to hear from, well, it'll be Tanya today because Tony is out of town, unfortunately, and that's nobody's fault. However, the meeting, it's certainly not Tanya's fault, that's correct. But the meeting today will be answers provided to questions that were submitted by you folks earlier this year. We don't have mics on the floor, so we're not taking questions from the floor. There's no Q&A. So, beyond that, I think we've got a good turnout. I don't think we need to wait much longer. So why don't I begin? Why don't I, John? Yeah, indeed. No time like the present, right? So as they're making their way up, we've got Tanya and Brianne from NARCA representing NARCA, from NARCA representing NARCA. And I want to first, do you want me?
Well, you can say also Tony.
Oh yeah. Do you want me to say that now?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Just ask you what NARCA is.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. Nova Care Retirement Communities Association, because it's easier for me because I say it all the time. It's what you pay CAM fees for.
And you know, Tanya, I had practiced what that was for days and days and days. Never had an opportunity to say it. So NARCA, represented by Tanya, and then Zest, represented by Tony. Much prettier, much prettier than Tony. But the reason that she's doing that is because we did have Tony vet the questions that were presented, and he has provided some answers. So Tanya's going to lower her voice and give Tony's answers. I want to just let you know about our committee a little bit. We have a committee of 12. In October this year, we'll have a turnover because it's a 3-year term. And so if you're interested in helping out with the running of the Resident Society Committee, by all means, put your name forward. You can talk to any of us on the current committee to find out what's entailed. It's not onerous. We meet once a month. We also review some safety situations. We have assigned streets throughout the village that we're responsible for. So without further ado, I'm just going to introduce our committee, starting on your far right, my far left. Look, that would be you, Lorraine. Lorraine Skunks, and in front of me, I don't have the streets that they're representing, but you can find that information in the phone directory. So Lorraine Skunks, Marianne Field, Lance, I'm drawing a blank here, Lance Pritchard. I remember Lance because the first time I heard his name, I said, "Hey, you're in the book as John." He says, "No, I go by Lance Romance." I didn't want to introduce him as Lance Romance, but Lynn McDonald, the person who reminded me of Lance's last name, Doug Thompson, Andy Lim, and Graham Kilburn. And apparently Andy got, oh, and yeah, Bob didn't want to have a seat in the firing line. And standing to my, like, if they're not in the seats, I don't know who they are, right? Sorry. Doug Brown behind me on the sound, and well, Bob Griffiths, thank you. I may not be running again, because anyway. And Lynn Paquin is not with us today. She's enjoying the warmer weather, and I don't know, why would she leave Ontario today? But she's down south somewhere, not in Trump land, sorry. So without further ado, I will introduce Tanya and let her take over from here. Tanya.
Good morning, everybody. We couldn't have a more beautiful day. And coincidentally, today's the day that we decided to replace that kitchen door. So we apologize for the construction noise earlier for those of you who were here. And I offered them coffee back at the office so they could go away during this meeting, and they'll finish that door later. But it's a beautiful day for some open air. So I think that's just a win. Tony sends his apologies. He's very sorry that he can't join. There was a meeting that came up after this was scheduled that he couldn't change, and he's sending his regrets, but he did provide some feedback for some of the answers, and he's sure that it'll go just fine without him. Tanya's not as sure. Okay, so we got a lot of feedback from you. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. Everybody in the office was compiling them, and there's a lot of repeat questions. So you might not hear the exact wording of your question because I've categorized similar questions together so that we're not repeating things. As it is, I have 10 pages of questions and answers, so hopefully that will cover most things. And my first question, I'm going to be Tony. The first question is about Hardy Board. Can you provide the timelines for the installation of Hardy Board and explain the reasons for the delays and completion dates for specific areas? There have been a variety of delays due to increased pricing and installation challenges. Just as a reminder, NARCA does not pay for Hardy Board. So when that gets done, it gets done by Zest. So it's not coming from your camp fees when they do that. So Tony says that they are working through a deal that will have them complete Hardy Board over the next 3 years. They're just finishing up a contract with a vendor to complete all of the remaining Hardy Board work. It is expected to take 2 to 3 years to complete. You'll see Hardy Board work commencing again shortly. Hardy Board is the newer siding. It's a concrete board. UMP has that siding on it. This street has that siding on it. So if you're waiting to get the facade of your house updated, it's coming soon, is the moral of that story. All right, I'm gonna ditch my hard hat. Okay, we're moving on to the most popular and repeated question that we received. I believe this was your number one question. And I think I should get bravery questions, bravery points for being the only one to stand up here to answer them. So, the pool closure. I can do it. With the pool being closed for almost 2 months, is there an alternate pool supply company that we could use? So my answer to this is, the pool did encounter multiple issues, which did necessitate a shutdown. There have been humidity problems due to the way the construction and engineering of that building, as well as challenges with some of the pool systems and parts. We did initially replace the core module for the Dectron. That did not resolve the issue. We've had a couple of different pool companies. The current vendor is good. We're very happy, big improvements, so that's a win. We weren't so happy with some of the other ones that we've had some experience with. We have some humidity levels that are constantly being read. I can pull them up on my phone and keep track of them and download spreadsheets and keep an eye on it. So the Dectron is working. The humidity is well controlled at this point. And the nice weather makes it a lot better. So we really only experience a lot of problems with the pool, as you might have noted, in the winter. When it gets cold outside, our pool rains a little, which causes a lot of damage. So there will be another shutdown. I don't know when yet. I have a meeting next week with the experts. We have a mechanical engineer involved. We've got somebody from a building perspective. We've got an insulation company. So next week, they're going to give me a full report. Then we'll schedule that work. We'll put a nice warm zone above the pool. And hopefully next year, we won't talk about this at next year's AGM. That's my hope. So that's my goal. Temperature control in the change room. It's so cold to shower or change. So standard, we have programmable thermostats in there. We tried locking them, but that failed a little bit. So we, in conjunction with the work that we're working with on the pool, the same mechanical person that we've been talking to is looking into a panel that will be able to control those thermostats and limit the amount of fluctuation within them so that people can't make it super hot or super cold, but still have a little bit of variable in. So hopefully as the pool solutions come next week, so will this solution, we'll get that installed. That will control the thermostats in the health club and limit the ranges that they can be fluctuating. If someone decides they like it really cold and they put it down to 15 and then somebody else comes in 30, it's really impossible for that building system to work effectively, and the hot and colds run next to each other and also get a lot of condensation. So stay tuned. Hopefully our thermostat issues for that building will be resolved along with the pool insulation. So there's a few questions along the similar vein about the temperatures of the change rooms. So hopefully that will be resolved. I know there's been issues. Will there be an update on the plan going forward for the repairs? And what is the decision of what temperature the water will be? The water will be about 85 degrees. That is what is recommended for public pools. It is what is best to keep the equipment running for the longest period of time and best to protect the building itself. So that is the goal. I know people would like it to be 90 degrees, but 85 is what we're going with. I'm sorry. If we don't do that, you'll just have more problems, more condensation, more building issues. So everyone is telling us that is the temperature that it needs to remain at. So I told you, I get the fun job. I get the bearer of bad news. The change rooms were also closed for a period of time due to the water pooling and the condensation and humidity. So the sauna was difficult to use with the temperatures being inconsistent. So the question says that there's probably a direct link between the effective heat in the change room and the ability to get sauna heated for effective use if the thermostat is cool or not heated. So without getting through the whole question, I'll just jump to the answer of that and say the sauna is a self-contained unit, so it shouldn't be significantly impacted by the room, but it's a fair point that the temperature of the room should be consistent. So having the thermostat panels changed will hopefully help control that and regulate it better to prevent any large fluctuations. There was also a question of maybe if there was a list of people interested in sort of an information session. So Sasha, at the back there, at some point will put out a little survey and find out who would be interested in sort of learning the workings of the sauna system. We can maybe do a little instruction session at the saunas and show people how to use them and what they're all about. So Sasha will send something out to you or come to a coffee hour and collect names so that we can do that for people. There was a request to have the pool hours extended till 10 p.m. rather than 8 p.m. Right now, extending the hours is not feasible due to a bunch of considerations. First of all, due to public health regulations and making sure we have protocols. There needs to be a certain amount of downtime for flushing of water We switch a lot of water every night. And they operate under strict guidelines, also budgetary constraints, staffing, our maintenance schedules, and the resources that are required to make sure that it runs. So currently, we're going to stick to the 8 p.m. Similarly, the Trillium, here we are. There was a question about temperature control here. Different answers for this building, sort of the similar answers, but different. The HVAC system in this building is outdated. I know it's shocking. It's so outdated that we're exploring other thermostats, but not all thermostats are compatible with the current HVAC system. The HVAC system will need to be replaced in the future with building renovations. Tony has that question later on. Don't worry, coming back to it. So we'll be collaborating. We have a new HVAC contractor who's been looking after things and is working on an improvement plan so we can make the most of it until we get a replacement. So hopefully we can get a new thermostat system in here that works with the existing system that will help control things better. And in the meantime, I've removed the door. Culverts and roads. Are the culverts under the village street inspected on a regular basis? Yes. And they have been inspected, and a report has been sent to the city. We've let them know about our concerns. Actually, many times over the last few years, we've let them know. Some of the culverts will be addressed as part of new development projects. The city is responsible for some culverts, while others are our responsibility. It's a really interesting system of culvert responsibility, but our priority is to focus on the most urgent repairs, specifically Monsignor Hankey Culvert this year. So we've gotten one quote, we're waiting on a couple of other quotes. The plan is to complete the replacement of Monsignor Hankey Culvert during this upcoming paving season and hopefully negotiate with the city to pay most of that bill. So wish us luck on our city negotiations, but either way, we're fixing that culvert this year because it needs to be done. On a similar vein, instead of fixing the potholes and dips, why was the expense done to put up professional signage in various places where there are large dips in the roads? So wasn't a large expense for my professional signage. I ordered it off of Amazon. So it wasn't expensive signage. It was just done as a temporary measure until we could fix it because I thought signage was better than nothing. I get that that's not a repair and not a fix. It was never the intention to just put up a sign and not fix it. It's just until we could get it fixed. It is a rather large dip in the road, so we will work on the deficient culverts and dips this summer and continue, I said, to try to get the city to cover as many costs as possible. So as far as repairing for dips and potholes in the roads and driveways that aren't related to culverts, we have a comprehensive list of areas that require repair or replacement, and we've already given those areas to contractors to get fresh quotes for this 2025 year. To ensure that it fits within our budgets. If you have a specific concern about your home, just give us a call and make sure it's noted. We've already driven around and tried to note driveways and things, but if you're wondering whether or not you think there's something that we might not know about that hasn't been reported, please just reach out to the office and let us know that if you have a concern with your personal driveway or sidewalk. There will be some cold patches applied as a temporary measure until the paving company can get here. There was a lot of shifting this year due to frost. So the last couple of years, we didn't have such a harsh winter, so we haven't seen this much shifting in a long time. This was the first year, probably in 3 years, that we saw such extensive shifting. But the village is known for its beautiful ponds, which also means the village is pretty wet. So when we get a deep freeze like we did this year, you'll get that a lot of frost heave. You'll see most of it fall back down, but it creates a lot of cracks and potholes. And if you've driven elsewhere in the city, you'll see that we're not unique. If it's any consolation, it's kind of everywhere. The next question's about snow removal. The pathway by Archdeacon and Gates Lane, could it be kept clear? We've worked with the Resident Society on this a few times over the years, and it's been agreed that we're going to continue to designate that area for snow accumulation and storing snow. The paths to be used at your own risk. It'll be cleared only if the other tasks and the staffing allows. From a budgetary stance and the timing to clean the roads and driveways and sidewalks, it wouldn't be a good use of our staffing dollars to focus on that. It would certainly be a lot of money to keep that clean. So for now, still no. Moving on to security. It's almost as bad as pool. So the gates being left open for anyone to enter. Live body security, question mark. So live body security, we know that's not really an improvement, and it's certainly not more cost effective. We've had it before. They can't monitor the whole village, so that's probably not going to be an option we go back to. We have requested for extra parts to be for that gate on site. The biggest problem with Gate A is it was supposed to be an improvement over the other two gates. This was, if anybody has been to a few of these, you'll remember we talked about this being the trial because we thought it was going to be better than the other gates. The other gates, surprisingly, used to be the ones broken down, and now they're always working, and the new gate is always broken down. It's kind of like getting a new pool, I think. I don't know what happens. So we have asked for additional parts, but I've also asked the contractor to quote out a different gate system for that gate so that there's a more local company that can supply the parts, because right now the parts come from Italy, which isn't very quick, and that's why we get these long delays. One of the parts is a brand new part. It's covered under warranty, so it won't cost us anything, but it's still coming from Italy. So stay tuned for gate option number, whichever one we're at. Similar question about gates being left open, making it easier for construction workers. We're not leaving it open for construction workers. I would prefer to have it functioning. So the construction workers, if they're working for the Zest Garden Homes people or for NARCA, are provided with gate passes. So we don't need to leave gates open for construction workers. If there's somebody that regularly visits, they're able to get access cards. We can give temporary privileges, temporary passes, all of those things. The next question was, can the use of gate A, B, and C be abandoned? Abandoned. They don't want gates. The question is, can we stop using gates altogether? See? See how it is? No, yes, I know. So the short answer to that is no. You know what? People moved in with the intention of this being a gated community. Tony and Rob have advertised it as a gated community. The intention will be to keep it as a gated community. It may be the bane of our existence, but we will get it right eventually, and we will carry on with the gated system the way it is. We've improved our camera systems as well, so hopefully that in conjunction, once the gates get working, will actually mean improved security. We do know that just the friction in having them works. The police will tell you that our crime rate is lower than our neighbors because of those gates. So, you know, if you talk to the police and they ask for the report specifically on the village, your crime rate, I know you still experience some crime, but it is extremely low compared to even your neighbors across the street. So they do work. It's just a friction point. It's not a fail-safe, but people are thinking it's just easier. It's like when you put something on your car to anti-theft. It's not that they couldn't still get into your car, but they probably would like the easier car to steal. So it just creates friction, and we do think it improves things. And the police assure us that actually we have some of the lowest crime rates around. So hopefully that's a good news story. Hang on, I got to get my Tony hat. When will the Trillium building be renovated? We will continue to improve the design for the renovation of the Trillium, and the new design will include the old pool area. We've been working with a committee. Some of you might be on that committee, so you'll know there's a couple of different committees going on. One specifically around the design of the kitchen so that it meets the needs of our residents, and also, we're exploring the idea of increasing the height of this banquet hall. So they're going to continue to review their current designs to make sure that it meets all the residents' needs within the Trillium and that the space remains flexible. And once they finish working with the committees to help design the spaces and to make sure that there's enough storage. Mary, I know you're somewhere. Storage, I got you. And so once they're hoping to start renovations, I'm not going to tell you what he said because I'm going to say it's a different date. This is being recorded too, so he's going to be able to watch it later. When I'm unemployed, come visit me. The start date will be dependent on completing the design. Once the design's completed, obviously we have to submit for a building permit and then hire the contractors to do the work. So I'm going to anticipate, hang on, no longer Tony. Tony's not going to say this, but I would say next year. I said it quietly. Well, we want to have Christmas. I don't really want them to start it before Christmas because then you can't have Christmas and it gets complicated. So I hope they start in January. That's my hope. Can't quote me on that because I don't know. A question regarding the ever-increasing skunk population in the village. It's been complained about in the past. Skunks are a problem on the village property, and the answer always comes back that it's a wildlife problem and nothing can be done. This year, the problem in odor is worse than ever. Yeah, I can't help you with your skunk problem, is the short answer. We realize that there's a skunk problem. We also do work with contractors. They will come if a skunk is causing damage to something. So if you can prove it, but you seeing a skunk wander through your neighborhood, there's nothing we can do. If you have a skunk that is burrowed and caused damage or something, then give us a call and we can help with that. But just witnessing skunks or other friends from the wilderness, unfortunately, not much we're going to do. You're not legally supposed to relocate a lot of wildlife. There's some rules around that. They don't really set trapping devices if they're just passing through. So it does not comply with the Fish and Wildlife Act and is not ecologically ethical. Sorry, I'm from a farm. We would have approached it differently, but here we are. How will you enforce the influx of people coming into the village to fish at the ponds, especially adults who are entering late at night and could pose a security risk? So we did make a new fishing policy. I think we put it in the Village Voice and on 91 and in the handbook as well. Staff will enforce this when possible. If you're concerned, don't hesitate to give a call. And if you actually think there's a security risk to anybody, please still use what you would if you didn't live in the village and call the police. Like, if you feel unsafe, the police aren't going to come here if they don't think there's a reason to, so it's okay to call. I think people are so hesitant to bother them, but if you're feeling unsafe, you think there's a legitimate problem, please don't hesitate to reach out and call the police. You're welcome to call our office, but if it's an immediate threat, call police and then us, and not the other way around. So I want you to think of your safety first. But we will encourage people. We made the new policy. There needs to be a resident with someone who is fishing. So if we see people fishing and they don't have a resident, or if you see people fishing and you think there's no resident, you can give our office a call and we'll just go and chat with them. And if they don't have a resident, they can move along, and there's lots of other places in Hamilton to fish. A beaver has been nibbling on a very large, healthy willow behind UMP. Could the base of the trunk be wrapped in some snow fencing material or chicken wire to protect the bark? We did wrap that tree. I don't know who submitted the question, but we've wrapped your tree. However, I can't protect all the trees, so we'll do our best to wrap some trees. We also, Brianne has kindly contacted the city about our beaver, and we told them maybe it was going to mess up their stormwater ponds, so they should come and check. I don't think he has yet, but maybe by the time the city gets here, it will have. So we've called the city, we'll call the Conservation Authority, but it's kind of similar to the skunks. There's not a whole lot in this day and age that you do about them. And it's funny, on my way into work today, I passed somebody else's pond on Book Road, and I saw a beaver swimming, and I was like, yep, they're everywhere now. We're staying in the wildlife territories here. Can we look at an alternative solution to the geese and how to get them to migrate? I know. It's a great job. So every year, I obtain a migratory bird permit that allows us to do, and we engage in an annual contract with a wildlife management company, and that company employs various methods that is allowed within this permit that I have to get from the ministry about how many eggs we can oil to prevent some hatching and the destroying of nests. And then, of course, they use some pyrotechnics and simulated wildlife calls and sirens, and sometimes they bring their dogs or a kayak or you can report any nesting to our office and we'll let them know right away so they can go to the nest to address any eggs. That's the best shot we have at really changing their habits, but they don't go south anymore, so it's really hard to get them to deter. And it's kind of like my answers about the other wildlife. You're not just gonna eliminate them. So we're trying to deter them as best we can, and the oiling of the eggs is the #1 way we can do that. So if you spot any eggs, please let us know. What about the food? Don't feed the geese. The poop. Well, don't feed the geese and maybe they won't poop. I don't. We do run the sweeper around, but we can't keep up with the geese. So we'll run the sweeper around, but it's hard during grass cutting season and whatever. So we try to run the sweeper. And if people call and say an area is really bad, we'll send the guys around with that sweeper. Which helps a little, but it's such a temporary measure because we could sweep the street now and 2 hours from now, the geese could be there. So we do our best to try to help with that, but it's a challenge. When will the fence along Garth and Selassie be fixed? So we're replacing sections in the upcoming weeks. There's some new posts needed in certain areas. Some are more damaged. So we're going to start with the most damaged areas along there. For those of you not on that side of the village, if you drive down Garth and look in, you can see that there's a wooden fence along there. There's some slats missing and some things that need fixing along there. So we'll be working on that for sure. And thank you for bringing it forward. There's also a question about a street sign for the end of Sister Varga and Selassie Circle. I think there was some confusion because we didn't understand that request initially. So I do understand it now, and Brienne has kindly ordered the signs. If you go down Sister Varga and you get to the end, as you know, it becomes Selassie. So that's a confusing point. And I'm sure for the people who live on that end of Selassie, it looks like it's Sister Varga. So we will get a nice corner sign that says Selassie, Sister Varga, because you can see it at the beginning of Sister Varga and you can see it at the beginning of Selassie, but in that transition at that corner, you're not really sure which street you're on anymore. It's like an Eagles song in the village, I think. Will there be routinely scheduled info and training sessions for the defibrillator? So there's an informational video. We sent it out via email fairly recently, and if you're looking for it, you can always call us. We can issue it to you again. We've also had it on 91 for quite a bit of time. But the unit itself, just so you know, it's designed to be user-friendly. So if you do have to use it, it will provide you with the, if you've never watched the video, you're still going to be fine. It has a step-by-step. It literally talks to you. It says, pick up this pad, put it here, put this here, push this, wait this long, and it talks to you, it'll tell you the time. So even if you don't remember your training video or if you've never watched a training video, they're designed to be in malls and arenas where no one's watched a training video, and they're very user friendly. But we do have a training video, so if you're looking for the link, just give the office a shout. Is there a plan to plant more trees for the ones we're lost? Yep, we're allocating some funds each year to replace some trees in common areas. But we also have a policy of avoiding cutting down any healthy trees. We will use a native species for any tree replacements. Signage. There's a variety of signs in the village. Some are mounted to poles, posts, and even trees. Is there a way to consolidate signage to make it more uniform and attractive? And please, no sign on trees. So we did go to Buddy Park and find the sign on the tree, and we removed it. So if you spot any others, just let us know. You guys see them quicker than we do. We will try to be as consistent with signage as we move forward. I don't want to go back and replace all the signs. It would be a budgetary item that I don't think we need to do. But as we need new signs, we'll make sure they're all consistent. Litter in the village is an ongoing problem, most noticeable on the recycling garbage collection days in areas where contractors are working. The litter blows down towards the ponds. Could a summer student be assigned to pick those up? Our residents who put out recycling the night before, could they put something heavy on the container so their contents don't blow overnight? Well, I've said it out loud now, so maybe you can. I don't know. That's the public service announcement. One of your neighbors would like it if you would make sure your stuff wouldn't blow away. Our staff members have been doing litter collection already for spring cleanup. And we also have requested that contractors and employees try to contribute to litter cleanup and removal of any debris. We know that recycling, especially this time of year, it's awful in the spring because the snow is gone and you're seeing everything from underneath. And then if we get a strong wind, it makes it a challenge. So we'll do our best to assist and try to keep things as clean as possible. Will flower beds be weeded this summer? So your personal flower beds, as you know, if you've been to a coffee hour, can be weeded as part of a fee-for-service program. And the common area gardens that are not already maintained by our wonderful resident volunteers. And we are so fortunate to have so many amazing resident volunteers that help make the village beautiful and look after their own gardens and some common area gardens, and we will look after the other ones. So yes. Can we get rid of the old beige vinyl chair looking over the pond on Father Byro? We did. Small wins for me. So if someone's missing their chair, sorry. I missed the Buddy Park windmill. Will it be returned to its spots? It was removed rather than re-anchoring it. We removed it because there are, if you read I put something in the Village Voice. You guys don't read my column. We removed it because they took it on as a project over the winter, and the landscaping team have been putting it back together, repainting it, making it beautiful. You're going to love it. We are just waiting on a gasket, and then it will be returned to Buddy Park in all of its new glory. So I'm excited to have it back. I love that windmill too. So yes, it will be back this summer, and it will look more beautiful than ever. There's a couple of different questions about could different types of workout equipment be added to the gym, specific things around workout bars or neoprene, or other people had other things. So the short answer that I have the good fortune to say is that we're not going to add any new equipment at this time. We think there's a sufficient amount, and while we recognize different residents have unique needs, our focus is on maintaining the existing equipment and managing our budget carefully, which I think you would all like me to do. So. Some streetlights are on 24 hours a day, every single day, and kindly attach pictures. Assuming there's no need for this. There is need for it. I apologize if you're in an area, but they're all LED bulbs. So I don't know if you remember, but they had the village switched over to all energy efficient bulbs many a year ago, like 2015, I want to say. So they're all efficient. And anybody that has a nice new light post knows that theirs is on a sensor and comes on and off. And anybody who has a really old light post knows it's on 24 hours a day. Until they're all replaced, the old ones will have to stay on 24 hours a day, but they do have an LED bulb, so they don't use a lot of hydro. We have replaced a considerable number of them. I'm slowing that pace down a little, because we've handled the most urgent matters, and for budgetary costs, I want to make sure that we keep going at a pace that will work well for people. So we will keep doing them as they're broken. I know there's an outage right now. They thought they had it fixed. There's something underground. They are working on it. When are they back, Brianne? Friday? Tomorrow? Tomorrow. So for those of you whose street lights are out, Brianne knows about it, and the electrician will be here tomorrow. Hang on. Tony's going to love this video. Question about the sales admin fee going from anywhere from a certain percent to a certain percent. Given the huge increase in real estate values in the last 4 years, it doesn't think that Zest has too high of a fee, and that it might make potential buyers look elsewhere. So the transfer fees are detailed in your life lease agreement, and they're unique to your agreement, so they may not be the same as somebody else's. So first of all, check your agreement. And truly wearing Tony, we do not believe that it is hindering the sale of unit. It's required as the success of upgrading the community, and we intend to continue to make improvements. I don't do sales. How many of the approximate 600 garden homes is 558 garden homes, just in case you wanted a little curious, 558 is the number of garden homes we have here in the village. 76 units in UMP. I don't count those as garden homes. So we have approximately, because it could have changed since we last calculated this number, but it's fairly recent, 157 homes are still on declining balance. For those of you who are saying, what's declining balance? I'm going to add some information there. So if you've moved in 2015 on, you're probably on a market value or a fixed value agreement. But for those of you who've lived pre-2015, I think there's a little overlap, 2014, 2015, could go either way. There was something called declining balance. It was how it was run before, when it was run as a Catholic charity, and the first little bit of when Tony and Rob owned the village, they also ran it that way and then switched over to market value. In a market value, as anybody who's moved in the last several years would know, you own your place, you can will it to your family, you could sell it. In a declining balance, you can live there for your whole life and your value decreases. And after 14 years, you don't have any equity left in your home, but you can stay there for as long as you're able. And then it comes back to the company. So they were a very different marketing thing. So it was much more a more reasonable price for your home. So it was much more cost-effective way to live. So those are the differences, because it comes up quite a bit. People aren't as familiar with declining balance, especially since we don't use it here anymore. So that's just a little bit of background information. Can you give us an update on the tax appeal of the reassessment of garden homes, which resulted in the 60% increase in our municipal tax fee, which was a very big increase? Unfortunately, our MPAC appeal was not successful. MPAC has valued the property at the new number. During the appeal, spoken with MPAC about the reason for the increase. The original downward adjustment was adjusted back in the day, down 50%, 57% from market, and it's still adjusted lower than market. But back then, it was reflective of the property conditions in 2016, and then they hadn't updated it since 2016. So when they updated it, they looked at the number of renovated units, the conditions no longer being poor on those renovated units. It was MPAC's intention to capture the renovations at the time of reassessment in 2020, and then they did it in 2024 instead. And considering the delayed assessment, they decided to update the values to reflect the renovated units based on 2024. They get notices whenever we give a building permit, so they can track how many units are renovated, and they know that they've suggested around 75% of their units have been updated. And I just told you how many declining balances are left is 157, and we have 558 garden homes. If you do that math, it's a little more than 75%. So there'd be no effective appeal for us, because they'd probably charge us more if we appealed. So not good news on that at all. If there's a cost issue with various things that are brought up to the office and nothing is done in a timely manner, the financial consequences of this should be the responsibilities of the owners. Why should this be coming from fees? This should be applied to maintenance, repairs, issues that have been told to the office on numerous occasions. We love living here in the village, but would appreciate if things were taken care of in a more timely manner. So my answer to that is we do aim to complete things promptly, and we do prioritize them based on urgency and budget. If you've contacted resident services multiple times and you're still dissatisfied with the outcome, your wonderful committee sitting here in front of you is your point of contact. They will advocate or help us assist in prioritizing our concerns and talk to us about whether or not they think that we should do something differently. We meet with them regularly. They send us minutes and questions regularly. So if you're dissatisfied with our office and our team, who I think does a pretty good job, please reach out to them. We work collaboratively with residents, and this team here is amazing. They advocate for you. They know your issues. You have street reps, and they'll come and talk to us and work on your behalf if there's something that you are not satisfied with. Does the village have any plans on investigating root causes of ice damming, and how do they plan to prevent any reoccurrences? So some homes we've already placed some heat trace wires on that experienced damage, and any of the damages will be repaired. If you haven't reported that you had any damage from winter, please call our office and let us know. It certainly was a unusually snowy year. We haven't had a good one in a while. We do have a list of homes that we think have been affected, but if we've missed you, let us know. And if ice damming is due to a structure that you've built against the house, that's on you, just as a FYI. So be careful where you put a gazebo or whatever. If you put a gazebo up against the house, it might cause ice damming. Otherwise, we will repair it. And it was just a weird year. It was not restricted to the village. If you've talked to anybody who owned property to the north, you'll know that our issues were a little less than theirs. It was a heavy year for snow. Hang on. I tried to find a baseball cap that had a Zest logo on it, but I couldn't, so here I am in my hard hat. Is it necessary to leave disposal containers throughout the village for weeks and months when no renovation activity is being done? So NARCA does not have bins on site except for one that we use for landscaping materials, so those bins are for renovations. And we have passed our concerns along, but Tony said that the bins should be in locations where renovations are occurring, and if they're in areas that they're not occurring, to report them, and if we'll follow up with the renovations group to ensure that they are moved. So I know that I have had people reach out to us about bins, and there are a lot of bins out there, which I guess means they're doing a lot of renovations. But if one's there and you can tell it hasn't been touched in a long time, give us a call and we'll talk to them. We have told them that they also need to put pylons in front and back. So if you're seeing one with no pylons around it, call for that too, because it's a safety issue. They're really hard to see at night. We did put some reflective tape on them, but they are a nuisance at best. So, all right, Dave, I did it. 10 pages. I heard that.
Well, thank you, Tanya, and thanks, folks, for attending today. Are you feeling about any? No more. No.
But I will add one comment.
Yeah.
If you have a question, you can still call our office. You can set up a call with me, a meeting with me. My staff will give you the best answers they can, but if you're not satisfied with their answers, you're welcome to talk to me. Don't all stop me when I get off the stage right now, though.
We're going to open the back door for Tanya, and
I
you
left
guys
it
look
open.
away. Oh, yeah, the door is open, yeah.
I made it permanent that way.
Yeah. So I appreciate your attentiveness. That's George Barker showed me how to say that word, attentiveness. So as Tanya said, today, no Q&A, but their door is open and their phone lines are open. And as also, as Tanya said, if you feel that your concerns are not being heard, our committee is here to help you out. So with all of that being said, thank you for your attendance today. And have a great day. It's a fantastic day.